Hello, I'm Cabarrus County District Court Judge Marty McGee, and welcome to Cabarrus People. Today's guest is Judge Clarence Horton. Judge Horton has served as a North Carolina judge for decades and is also the host of Historic Moments, which also airs on this channel. Welcome to the program, Judge.
Thank you very much, Marty.
If we could start at the beginning, where were you born?
I've lived in the Kannapolis area all of my life. My folks were from there. Attended Kannapolis City Schools and then L. Brown High School before going to Carolina at Chapel Hill for my undergraduate work.
Why did you choose to go into the law?
Well, I'd always thought I'd be interested in teaching English or communications of some sort, but when I finished undergraduate school, I was attracted to the law school. I knew several persons who were going to attend there. And my father had always told me stories about the lawyers he admired growing up in the Raleigh area. And I found myself drawn toward it. So I thought, like a lot of people, I wasn't completely sure what I wanted to do. So I decided to try law, and it was a happy day for me because I loved it.
I understand you came back to Cabarrus County to practice. Did you enjoy that?
Oh, I did. I enjoyed it a great deal. I never was very good at the business aspects of practicing law, but I enjoyed my clients. And I loved the academic side of the practice. I think I enjoyed that more than anything. In those days, a lot of us were general practitioners, so we took most anything that came in the door and were glad to have it. So you learned a lot about a lot of different aspects of the law and about the problems people have.
This show is being formed in the historic Cabarrus County Courthouse. Is this where you started practicing?
It is. I'm glad to be back today, and it's especially nice to be in the Judge Adam Grant gallery, since Judge Grant and I were good friends and practiced together on the district court for many years.
Why did you choose to become a judge?
Well, as I said, I never was very comfortable with the business aspects of practicing law, but I liked the academic side, and I thought that being a judge would give me an opportunity to concentrate more on the parts of the law that I liked, and I would also have some time to spend a little more time in my writing and in research on some other things I was interested in.
How did you get the position?
Unfortunately, Judge L.F. Faggart, who was a judge from Kannapolis, one of the last lay judges in the state, died in January of 1981 from a massive heart attack, and Governor Jim Hunt appointed me to succeed Judge Faggart.
And as a district court judge, what type of cases did you hear?
Oh my goodness, the district court hears everything. We heard a great number, of course, of minor criminal cases, probable cause hearings in felony cases, many aspects of family law, custody, support, all the things, divorce, all the things that go with that. So we heard just a little bit of every type of dispute.
And you were a district court judge for about 17 years, is that correct?
Yes, from 1981 through the end of 1997.
What part of that experience stands out most in your mind?
Well, part of it is the other judges and the lawyers. I enjoyed so much being a member of this bar and working with them. But I suppose what really stands out is that beginning in 1981, when I was appointed, we were undergoing almost a revolution in family law in the state. The Equitable Distribution Act was effective October of that year. We made changes in interstate child support collection and in local child support collection, changes in interstate child custody cases. It seemed that every legislature something new was added, so I remember all those changes. And then in the criminal areas, the Safe Roads Act was enacted and several other major pieces of legislation that really changed the practice and it changed the way we did things in court. We had to spend a great deal of time on administrative work, and I didn't much like that aspect of being a judge, but that was necessary.
I know it seems that most of your writings and teachings, a good bit of that centered on family law. Is there anything in particular that drew you to that area?
Well, when I first started practicing, I handled a lot of family law cases, And I saw it as a way to help people who were in a great deal of need financially and who also were in a great deal of pain because of their situation. I enjoyed the aspect of helping the children who were involved, or I tried to help. I felt getting the cases settled in a fair way was a good way to get them out of the tension of the parents being separated and preparing to be divorced. And that carried on over. I was distressed at what a stress they found themselves under in custody cases. And so that gave rise to my interest in child custody mediation as a way to handle those cases outside court, relieve a little of the stress on all the family, maybe, produce some better results, and therefore help the children by cutting down on all the things that frankly were not making their lives any happier at that time.
Well, I know after the district court, you became the first person from Cabarrus County to serve on one of our appellate courts. Could you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yes, there was an opening in 1997 toward the end of the year, and I had been, as I said, I was always more interested in the academic aspects of the law, I suppose. So I thought I'd always wanted to serve on an appellate court, frankly, see if I could do the work, and I thought it'd be a challenge. So the governor was kind enough to appoint me to that position, and I started the 1st of 1998 in the Court of Appeals.
And you served primarily in Raleigh, is where your chambers was?
Yes, we held court a few times outside Raleigh, but generally speaking, I commuted back and forth to Raleigh because I didn't want to move from this area. And so, but I spent most of the time in Raleigh and in politicking during that time, so some of the time outside the city.
Following that, you were appointed as a special Superior Court judge, is that right?
I was, and about 2001, I think I started serving as a special Superior Court judge, and that was completely different because there you travel all over the state. I had a chance to see some of the judges and lawyers that I'd corresponded with and talked on the telephone with for years, to see them in their kind of their home counties. Met some wonderful people, but mostly it gave me a chance to realize how beautiful and big this state is.
Do you know about how many counties you presided in?
I think I didn't keep a close count, but I think 40 or 50, somewhere between there. And
after your tenure as a special Superior Court judge, you have continued on as an emergency judge, is that correct?
Yes, I was appointed as an emergency special Superior Court judge, and as you might expect, that means you fill in when needed, when someone's sick or needs to continue a term on, something of that sort. There's very little work now for emergency judges due to the budgetary constraints, and frankly, there are a number of special Superior Court judges who really take up the slack and do that work.
Well, lots of the folks that'll see this program will know you not from the law, but from your work involving history. How did you become interested in that?
Oh my goodness, I had some wonderful high school teachers in Kannapolis at A.L. Brown, and one of the best was Dan Boone, who taught history. Mr. Boone was a veteran of the Second World War. He's the first person that I had who really made history come alive. He told stories. Liked to tell about his stories flying over North Africa and so on, and he made it come alive. And it was more, when he taught, it was more than just dates and places and names to memorize. It was actually things that had happened, and we all enjoyed his class a great deal, but it really made an impression on me. After that, I always liked to know what the story was behind the date and what actually happened at that time.
When did you turn that interest in history to focus more on your home county here in Cabarrus?
Well, I think probably after I became a district court judge. In 1984, the Methodist Church celebrated its bicentennial, and the local church asked me to make some talks and write some material and do some research. I began doing that and really enjoyed it. So I spent about a year doing that, and then I was thoroughly hooked at the end of that time, and just went on from there.
Well, you host a show on Channel 22, Historical Moments. How did that get started?
Well, I actually got started in this building, in the historic courthouse in 2004, or perhaps at the end of 2003. Janet Dearman had been appointed as the new executive director of Historic Cabarrus, which was, of course, the organization dedicated to preserving not only this courthouse, but other historic monuments and records throughout the county. The organization always needed membership and needed funds to carry out its projects. So as a part of trying to do that, Janet appealed to David Baxter, who had just come with this local channel, 22, in 2003. And they approached me and talked about doing a show on the old courthouse, the historic courthouse, and in short, making their presence more visible and asking people to join Historic Cabarrus. So we did that, I believe, in fact, April of 2004, so about 9 years ago. And people seemed to like it. We did 3 or 4 other shows pretty quickly, just in the next year. Mr. Baxter was looking for programming at that time for the channel. And so we found ourselves filling a spot and being fairly popular, and we just went from there.
What do you think are the 2 or 3 most important historical moments that have occurred in our county?
Well, I think the formation of the county, which was not an easy thing, it took about 10 years actually to get through the legislature back in the 1780s and early 1790s. It was mostly a political question. And as you know, we decided to amend the bill to name the county Cabarrus County to honor the Speaker of the House of Commons, Stephen Cabarrus, a well-known and popular Frenchman. And that was an important story. Once Cabarrus was set off, I think probably the next major thing was the coming of the railroad in the 1850s, which kind of opened up this area. Before then, we were just a small courthouse village here in Concord, but the nearby railroad made it possible for local farmers to send out their produce and to import goods. And then when the textile industry started, that was a big attraction, because the railroad made it possible to ship out the finished goods and to bring in raw materials and so on. It also made Concord one of the centers of the cotton buying business, cotton brokering. And a young man named Jim Cannon turned out to be very good at doing that sort of thing. And then he became interested in cotton mills, and it went from there. So that was a major event. And of course, the closing of the mills that descended from Cannon Mills in 2003 was a very sad but important event in the life of the county. But then we balanced that against the next important event, which was Mr. Murdoch's vision for Kannapolis and the research campus, which has led us into a completely new century of growth.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your being here today.
No, it's my pleasure.
And also, I'd like to thank the viewers for joining us today. This program is also available on the county's website as well as YouTube. Thank you.